Hey, welcome to the Relentless Positivity Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Martin, and my guest today is John Lawyer. He has a story that not too many people can tell. His journey has taken him from the battlefields of Kuwait, Baghdad, and Kandahar to become a spiritualist and a universalist. And if you're like me and you don't know what those terms mean, that's okay. We're going to get there, but just know it's slightly different than when he was out winning a Bronze Star for counter-terrorism and things like that. So, John, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this story, man. It's a one not many can tell. So I appreciate you coming on. So let's bring it way back. So where are you from, and what kind of kid were you growing up?
Yeah, I grew up in Oklahoma, a small town, about 8,000 people. Uh, I grew up in town, but spent a lot of time at the family farm. We had cattle and stuff out there, and so it was a good childhood. I grew up Southern Baptist. Wasn't super into church or anything like that, but was raised that way, and that's kind of how I came up as a kid.
Yeah, right. You got that work ethic early. Then we're working around on that, man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I had a pretty good work ethic, I'd say.
Yeah, I bet it showed later on. We'll get into that later. But so when did you decide the military and why the military?
I was always interested in intelligence, read Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan stuff growing up. Saw Lawrence of Arabia as a kid and always thought, man, I want to go to the desert and do that. So I knew a college wasn't really for me, so I figured I would enlist in the army. So that was kind of what took me in that direction.
Awesome, man. So can you kind of give us a brief overview of what all you did in the military?
Yeah, I enlisted as a counterintelligence special agent. So counterintelligence is kind of like we're trying to prevent people from spying on us. It also involves counterterrorism. It involves talking to people to get information from them and that kind of thing. And so I enlisted before 9/11 and did my basic training, job training. That was about a year before 9/11. And I got to my permanent duty station about 6 months before 9/11. And I ended up, I'd always wanted to go to the desert and the Middle East. And I ended up at a unit that's their job. That was their job if we went to war. And we did. And so it's one of those be careful what you wish for situations, I think.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah. So what were kind of some crucial lessons you took away from being in the military?
Yeah, I think it taught me a lot. It it taught me how to work hard and how to work with people and uh to work in difficult situations and stay focused. And it was and I think there's something about, I mean, everybody always talks about the brotherhood or sisterhood, right? But I think that there's a lot to that you join for a lot of reasons, but at the end of the day, when you end up there, you're doing it for each other, kind of a situation. So I think that aspect of it was very important. And those, so it was a really interesting experience from those perspectives.
Sure. The people I know that were in the military, it seems like they just have an extra gear that they get. They can go a little bit further, work a little bit harder than people that haven't been there. So that's invaluable. I don't care what you decide to do. Yeah. So eventually you do decide to get out of the military. What made you make that decision?
Well, I got out. I was enlisted for 5 years, and I spent half that enlistment in Kuwait, 2.5 years. I got married, to my wife 20 years while I was in the military, and I wanted to keep doing what I was doing, but I just wanted a little bit more freedom than the military afforded me. So, I stayed in, continuing to do what I was doing in the military as a civilian for many years after. Um, it was kind of a situation where I was still in the desert. I was still doing all this stuff, but if I wanted to go, get on a C-130 and leave, I could. I didn't ever do that really, but I could have if I wanted to. So it's that having that option. Um, and so yeah, that was the on and off for the first 15 years of my adult life.
Yeah. So you're over there working just crazy hours. You know, tell people kind of a typical work week, what it looked like for you.
Yeah, I was working 110 hours a week, 7 days a week, didn't really have much time off. And for me, I was just, I really believed in what I was doing. I believed I really wanted to succeed, and the mission was really important. And so uh it was it was either doing counterterrorism stuff, trying to, like I said, figure out who was spying on us. And then Afghanistan, I was in Afghanistan for 6.5 years consecutively. And there it was asymmetrical warfare. It was, we're trying to keep the base safe. It's 50,000 people, busiest runway on planet Earth at the time on Kandahar airfield. And our job was to keep the airfield green and running and protect people on the airfield. So it was kind of like you kind of have to get in the head of the enemy, or whatever you want to call it. And that was my week to week, my day to day.
Just 6 years, 6.5 years straight, 100-hour week. And that's no days off, by the way. That's Sunday through
Yeah,
Saturday. So man, that's just. I like how you talked about it. It kind of takes an extremist to combat an extremist. So they're out
it's
there
true.
working all those hours, so you had to do the same. So I mean, understandably, you eventually have a breakdown. I mean, no one can keep that pace up forever. So kind of go through that and where you went after that breakdown.
Yeah, like I said, when you're in, it's kind of one of those situations where you're in the pot, you don't realize it's getting warm and starts to boil, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was tired. I was completely kind of busted. After just doing all that for so long, I just kind of fried. And so I went home, and my wife and I had been together for most of that time. She did the same job as me. So we both went home. We were both kind of broken. I didn't really know who I was outside of that whole system, so I had to go kind of find myself and put myself back together. So I think that one reason I love your podcast is I love the idea of relentless positivity. And even there were some dark times for me, but I still remained positive through that. And so I never got completely lost. I was lost, but I wasn't, so lost that I couldn't see a little bit of something. So uh that's kind of what happened when I went home after those 15 years. And it took probably 7 years for me to completely even really get to a point where I could kind of find myself.
A lot. So it's a big change in your life. And I threw out some terms in the beginning I'd like to help us kind of work through. So I said a universalist. So I mean, I looked it up, but maybe other people know what that is. So kind of explain what that is and how you kind of decide that's kind of what I vibe with.
Yeah, I believe that regardless of who you are or what religious or spiritual belief or philosophy that you practice, that you could be an atheist or a Hindu, or what, it doesn't matter. I think that we all are walking a very similar journey, similar path. It might be a little bit different for every person, and that's okay. I think uniqueness is a good thing, but we can all sit down and have a good conversation, and we can practice our belief or our faith right next to one another, and do it peacefully and do it in a constructive way. And that's kind of what universalism is to me.
Cool. Yeah. So and then kind of along what's a spiritualist? That's kind of along the lines, kind of the same along the lines, but we kind of in your terms, what would you call it?
Yeah, it's a broad term. I think that for me, I define it as practicing your own unique path and doing it, even if you do practice religion, trying to do it without the dogma attached to it, that governance of the church, or the overarching rules of that we've put in place as humans. That there's something that kind of divine, or the magic behind it, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I went guy I go to church with. He told me one time, man, this church stuff be so much better if it wasn't out for these daggum people. It's all the people that mess it up, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just if you're, if yeah, and I feel I'm not a Christian anymore, but I mean, I appreciate Christianity, and I feel more Christian today than I ever felt in the church, if that makes any sense.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting way to look at it. So tell people what you're doing over keyshard.org. So people, I'll spell it out in the comment section, all that good
Sure,
stuff. But
sure.
yeah, so tell us what's going on over there.
That's our spiritual community that we have, where people can kind of find their journey, or kind of explore the journey they're on spiritually. It's a place we have guided meditations, we have journaling prompts, we have a place where people can just talk to each other, in a place that's not Instagram or Facebook. It's kind of a community without trolls or ads or anything like that, and it's just a place where people can further themselves, find themselves, and that can help them in their daily lives and their professional lives. And we do individual one-on-one spiritual guidance and coaching as well. And it's a place where you can be yourself and find yourself.
Man. There are not too many places like that out there, especially not on Instagram. It's not on Instagram or Facebook for sure. So, why did you decide to start that? Why was that so important to you?
I think that it was just I had kind of had this moment a couple years ago where I understood that I wanted to give back to the world, and I wanted to understand my own journey better. I wanted to understand what other people were doing. I figured we could teach each other and learn from each other at the same time. And I thought that even in the digital age, we can still have this meaningful, authentic conversation and existence, even on the internet. Uh, and I think there's space for that moving ahead, where we have these smaller communities that have kind of this rich, authentic uh, community type atmosphere.
Awesome, man. People need to go check that out. It's KISHAR.org. And I'll link that in show notes, like I said, so you don't, if you're a bad speller like me and you can't pay attention, you can just click on the link. So, man, that sounds really cool. So, I mean, I need to go check that out myself. But what do you think? What would you say? What's next for you? You've accomplished a lot in your life. What's next for you?
You know, I feel so fortunate to have found kind of what my higher purpose is in this path that I'm on. So really just keep walking it, keep trying to talk to people about it. And I think that's what's next for me is just keep growing our community and trying to help people help themselves is kind of what I'm looking to do. That's kind of what my purpose is in life, I think.
Awesome, man. Now that's a great purpose right there. Just trying to help people find their way. So if you could tell someone right now that's listening, maybe they're just burned out, they don't know which way to go, they don't know what they're doing. What would be your advice to that person?
I always say slow things down. I think that we have more time than we think that we do each day, each week. And don't chase perfection. There's no perfection in this world. There might be perfection inside within that divine thing. But have some grace for yourself and self-love. Take care of yourself. I say to everybody, you know, in our society doesn't really teach us to take care of ourselves necessarily. They teach us to kind of be the hero for other people, but be the hero for yourself.
Hey, if y'all didn't listen to any other part of this podcast, rewind that part. That's some knowledge bombs right there. And that's excellent advice. I don't care who you are, or what you're going through, man. That's really cool for you to share that. So, John, thanks so much for your service, first of all, and thanks for what you're doing now as well. Just making the world a better place. That's what this podcast is all about, highlighting people like yourself who are doing cool things. So thank you for what you're doing out there, man.
It's a great message, Joe. I really appreciate you putting it out in the world.
Absolutely. So yeah, hey, if you're listening right now, please share this message. Please share what John's doing out there. It could change someone's life. Somebody may be exactly what they need in their life right now. Go to that kishar.org, click on it, spell it out, whatever you're into. It may be just what you need if you're listening right now. But please share this episode so we can get this word out. The cool things that John's doing out there. Hey, John, thanks for what you're doing, man. Keep up the good work, and we'll keep up with you, man.
Thanks, Joe. Have a good one.
You too. Hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week on the Relentless Positivity Podcast.